Alright guys, Scrappy again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Some CDL versus Warzone drama continuing, but also Dashy responding, it seems, to some of the comments on social media over the last 24 hours or so as to this Rostermania period that is currently going down. Dashy saying, wow, some of these people are delusional, and potentially talking about the fact that OpTic may have to be considering a change with Scrappy potentially available. Dashy maybe implying that is certainly not the case. Very much enjoyed to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I greatly appreciate it. Thought this is pretty fire as well, actually, some behind the scenes stuff here from Scrap at the Esports World Cup that of course finished quite a while ago now. It was nice to see this from Scrap's POV, of course, and just showing around the boulevard and everything that was actually going on there in addition to what was happening at the venue itself. This on Mohawk though I thought was pretty interesting, right? So Mo, a player that's been doing the rounds, I mean, he obviously won that back-to-back years of Challengers World Championships, and he was looking to get into the CDL. It was a possibility, it was on the cards, and offers were there, but it never happened in the end. And there were some interesting comments here. So Hamza Frosty says, actually insane how me and Mo have never even touched the league. How is that even possible? And Donny Temper, of course, was on the Paris Legion at the time, Vegas Legion, whatever. And, you know, of course, they no longer exist, thankfully. But as Temp says, I tried to pick up Mo, and he said no, so don't bring his name up. Now, this is, you know, it's kind of been well known, really, but he had an offer to potentially go and join that Legion team. He just said no because he thought he was going to get a better opportunity, and I think maybe there was something else as well. And he says, Cappy wanted to play with me and not someone else on roster. Had an offer from another franchise that year as well. Uninformed moron, he says. So pretty funny stuff. Temp's like, yeah, one of my teammates he didn't want to play with, but he potentially had an offer to join another franchise as well. So this is the issue, like when you get a CDL offer, it's kind of difficult to turn it down because then you get into a spot where they're potentially in today. And I thought this is pretty funny. So these guys are roasting Donny here, kind of saying, oh, you know, no one would play with him, whatever. And then says, basically, this guy's delusional. Didn't hold Hook back from being top 3 in Advanced Warfare. Didn't hold Slasher back from being the best main AR in World War II on my team. But apparently I go for inflated stats. Dumb. I mean, I'm not going to read that out. And then he says it again after Mac Melt's been top 5 at MW19. So Donny's kind of making the point, like, look, I'm not just here to get kills and have good stats, I actually enable my teammates too, and we'll see what happens with Temp this season, right, whether he gets an opportunity back into the CDL somewhere. Last year it seemed to be on the cards, never happened in the end. There was some debate on whether Temp had an offer to return to Legion, whether he didn't, or whether he was just making the decision himself to go down to Challengers, grind it out and make the return. It's not impossible to make decent money down there in Challenges purely from, you know, prize earnings. They actually put some of the budget up for that this season. The CDL did. Can you believe it? But at the same time, you want to be in the league, obviously, and maybe there's a possibility for that in the future for Temp. But, you know, I guess as far as he's concerned, Mo and Glowfrosty are not necessarily top of the list. This I thought was pretty funny as well. Of course, Octane was making the point, could he return if this Scrap HyDra situation happens? I guess it's also a question, isn't it? Like, I think it's 0.5% chance that Octane would actually do this. But you gotta think about it. Like, if you're Octane, I know that he went to the big events. I mean, here's even a picture of him. I think this is at Dallas at the World Championship. And he made the point a good couple of times that as a former player, it's very challenging to be there at the venue in front of 6,500 people on that main stage and not think, wow, like, I wish I was back up there competing for the championships. Octane, I wouldn't say he retired too early. He retired at the perfect time for him and his life and his, you know, family and everything that he wants to achieve. I totally get it, but he did retire far before he would have had to, right? And, you know, Octane, I think, could easily come back and be an absolute top AR in the league if he wanted to be. And this is the thing. If you're Scrappy and HyDra, we've talked about their possibility earlier today of teaming up over on Cloud9, New York, Cloud9, New York, whatever. Who is your ideal main AR? Is it Skyz, who might well stay there? Or is it like Octane or Formal or something, right? And it's Black Ops 6. It's like, I don't know, if I'm Octane and I get a message from Scrappy to say, hey, like, we're putting money in, I'm going to go and sign for Cloud9, I'm going to team with HyDra, we want you as our main. Like, what's Octane to do at that point, right? Is it not tempting? Is it not kind of tempting? So, you know, that's what Octane's talking about. Maybe I'll have to make the return to either stop that duo from winning everything or might come back to team with that duo to become an absolute force. I mean, that would be the best trio in the game, arguably. I think there's an argument to be made for that. Octane, Scrap, and HyDra, I mean, wow. If Octane was performing as he did, you know, let's say Modern Warfare 2, which was his final season, which was arguably, in terms of like his overall performance from like a communication perspective and everything about Octane's game, was maybe his best ever year before he then retired. I don't know, I think it's something to think about, although as I say, it's maybe 1 in 200 chance that it actually happens, but it's maybe never absolutely impossible. Let's talk about some of the Warzone drama as well, of course. We've got the classic clip of Scump winning the World Series of Warzone, solo, YOLO, whatever it was called, a couple of years ago, and, you know, CDL pros running Warzone. This was pretty interesting though, right? So Zinni then says, I had people arguing against me last night that HyDra, Shotzzy, and Simp, so imagine that those 3 guys teamed up together in Warzone with 1 year of practice, wouldn't run the show. So, you know, this is an interesting debate on some level. Like, if you take basically the best 3 COD players and you have them play Warzone for a year, and they're like fully committed and grinding Warzone to be the best they can possibly be, are they going to start stomping everyone? I think almost certainly yes, to be honest, but maybe we're biased on that. Shifty TV, of course, Shifty on the Falcons, the organisation and the team that has dominated absolutely everything when it comes to Warzone over the last couple of years, you know, winning the World Cup, winning World Series of Warzone, making absolute bank while they do so. He says they are some of the best at what they do, but these 3 get dog-walked in Warzone by our bottom teams. So, look, after a year of practice, it's probably a different story, but Shifty's kind of saying, well, you know, they don't have the skill sets that we have here in Warzone, right? So he's given them some credit to say, okay, and what they do, fine, they're the best in what we do, you know, I run the show type thing. Of course, Shifty also said if the bag is right, then it'll come to the CDL, but it seems like the bag hasn't been right quite as of yet. So, you know, Beans is in the replies kind of questioning this take. Even Sib, shortly before he tweeted out his free agency announcement, was saying a similar thing. He was like, hang on a second, are we serious right now? And yeah, some of the drama continues a little bit here because, as Swag says in the replies, people got to understand Call of Duty is Call of Duty. The gap is not as wide as people think. CDL guys were cook, as well as Biffle and Shifty cook in the CDL. The talent for COD itself is at an all-time high. The gap will continue to close, he says. So, you know, there's obviously some discussion and some debate on this, and I'd just love to see one of those guys try and make it, you know, in the CDL, play some Challengers tournaments, give it a go maybe. I don't know, like, are Biffle and Shifty and Hisoka ever going to get bored of just winning every Warzone tournament? Probably not, because they're making so much money, but maybe if they do, they could consider trying to make it work in the CDL. I don't know, there were rumours about that, weren't there? Like Biffle getting an offer from the Los Angeles Grillers or something. Whether that was true or not, who really knows? The other concern, I think, for the Call of Duty League is that, you know, Swag might be right, the amount of talent in COD is right up there right now. The issue is that back in the day, Biffle, Shifty, players like that, they would be, you know, Call of Duty League players, or they'd be in that kind of multiplayer ecosystem rather than in Warzone. And what maybe you find is that a lot of up-and-coming younger players that are learning their craft and learning to play COD at a high level, they're playing Warzone rather than ranked play, right? Or Warzone rather than challenges, as it were. And therefore, maybe some of the talent doesn't end up where, you know, I would like it to be. But intrigued to your thoughts on that. This was an interesting comment from Repulse as well, though, saying that, hang on a second, these CDL players, when they retire, can they not just come over here to Warzone? Because Falcons are on their 3rd Lambo by now. They need some competition. So, you know, it's been a question recently when some of the players call it a day in the Call of Duty League and retire. Where are they going to go? Is it going to be anywhere, right? Are they going to go over there to X-Defiant? That seems pretty unlikely as it stands. And maybe Warzone was potentially a possibility, right? There was even some further discussion here. So I think Crowder said, like, you know, Shotzzy actually mentioned this on stream during the broadcast of COD Next, that it's the best COD we've had in the CDL era. And, well, this guy thinks he was cheating or something. So, yeah, Simp and Crowder a little bit confused on that one. But let's talk about what Dashy had to say on a couple of different things, because his comments are pretty interesting, really, especially on what might be happening now in this Rostermania period. John even says, what are we thinking about Black Ops 6? And Dashy's like, you might have to return. So this is the thing for guys like John and older players. It's the same kind of discussion I had with Octane a few minutes ago, right? If there's any year to come back and to maybe try and make it work, this might be the year. It's the first Treyarch title in several years now, since 2020 was the last time we had a Treyarch game, and that game was rushed out the door as well, to such an extent that maybe they didn't even call it Black Ops 5 because they didn't think it was that good. But still, Black Ops Cold War was probably the best game that we've had from competitive side in the CDL era, and Black Ops 6 is arguably going to be even better. That's the general feeling so far from the players, that it's going to be a pretty damn good good year. I know they say that every year, so a bit of a grain of salt, but for many of the players, if there's any year you want to return, now might potentially be the year. And it's the same thing that happened to some degree with players. I remember when the jetpack era ended, we went back to boots on the ground in World War II. There were so many guys that made the comeback for that season. Loads of like old school absolute veterans like Gunless, I think, made the return briefly. Stainville made the return. Envoy, stuff like this. Like they played the game at least for a bit at the start of the game's life cycle. So I don't know if we're going to see something similar to that here. But Dashy also goes on to say, can you mute communities on Twitter? I'm losing brain cells with some of these tweets I'm seeing on my timeline. So there's a few communities on Twitter, and you know, it's an interesting way that it works. You can, I think, go on the like your homepage just to following rather than for you, and then you won't see any of it. So I think it's possible just to go to the following tab. And then I don't think you get community related stuff unless you're like actually in that community or really active in it or something. I don't really know. But so I think it is possible anyway. But it was a question as to exactly what Dashy was talking about here, because he tweeted this out pretty much just as all of the Rostermania chaos was going down. The questions on Scrappy, on Sib, and what might happen next. And understandably, there were lots of comments and posts in said communities on whether that could be a thing. Such as, for example, this one that was going around as well, which, you know, in the Zoo Mafia community, where T2 Sunny says, should OpTic drop Dashy and Kenny to pick up Sib since him and Predator duo, or Dashy or Kenny to pick up Sib since him and Predator duo? Then you have to guess between, or like choose between which one you drop between Dashy and Ken. And obviously we had the same discussion with Scrappy earlier today. Like, if you are gonna bring in Scrappy, who do you get rid of, right? It's actually basically impossible to choose. So is this the type of thing that Dashy saw? I wouldn't be surprised if it was, to be honest, and at least something to this effect anyway on that kind of conversation, and saying like, how do I get this type of stuff in my timeline? I don't want to see it type thing. And maybe implying that nothing's going to be happening, which of course, as I said earlier today, is the most likely situation. He does go on to say, Dashy, that he's not talking about a specific community, he's just talking about all of them. But look, at the same time, it wouldn't be a massive surprise if Dashy had seen something that was kind of implying that OpTic might make a move, and he's like, what are you talking about, guys? Like, we are not doing anything with our roster, which is the most likely outcome. But as I said earlier today, if Scrappy is available and gettable, and Cloud9 or even maybe FaZe are looking to get involved, I think that would be the thing for me. If it turns out that FaZe are looking to bring Scrappy in for Drazah, like they're actually, well, Scrappy's available, let's maybe make that work. I don't know if as OpTic you can allow that to happen, to be honest. Maybe you can, but it feels scary to let that happen. Letting him go to Cloud9 with HyDra and everything, like, you know, that team maybe is still beatable, but letting Scrap go to FaZe, I think, is a scary prospect. And if FaZe were trying to do that, then I think OpTic might have to say, we have to stop this on some level, whatever that potentially means. So very much interested in your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.
Hold on, chat, hold on. I fucking love this game, dude. Wow.
All threats neutralized.
Promise you, dude, the best game we had CDL yet. Promise you. Jesus.
Let's play again. We'll try something.
Bro, wait, genuine question. Why don't you come back?
Come back?
Yeah. Tell me this shit's not lit. Tell me, bro, this is the best COD we've had CDL, 100%.